Thanks everyone for joining, and good afternoon everyone. On behalf of FC Kohli Day Event Organization Committee, I welcome you all to the next session. The seeds of the spirit of inquiry sown here at KCIS are thriving even outside its walls, carried forth by alumni around the globe. We are happy to introduce you to them today through this advisor alumni interaction session, which has now become a key event in our Kohli Day celebration. So let me introduce you to the first pair, and I'll try to keep the introduction brief as we have only 15 minutes of the session for every pair, and there are 4 pairs here. So first of all, I would like to welcome Professor Rajan. I hope he's there. Can you put on your camera, Professor Rajan? So Professor, and also the alumnus, Dr. Rahul Saladi. So Professor Rajan is a senior faculty at IIIT who heads Spatial Informatics Lab, LSI Lab at IIIT Hyderabad. And he has a key interest in areas overlapping computer science and geospatial technologies. And through his research work has helped focus on bridging the gap, be it in spatio-temporal data mining, big data analytics, WebGIS, 4D visualization, generating useful satellite-based thematic products. And he's also an active proponent of open source in India. Dr. Rahul Saladi did his BTech and MS in computer science at IIIT Hyderabad from 2004 to 2011. Followed by this, he did his PhD in computer science from University of Minnesota and postdoctoral work at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. He's currently an assistant professor at IISc Bangalore, and he's an ardent researcher in the field of theoretical computer science, specifically interested in building new geometric algorithms and data structures. So I would like to welcome Professor Rajan and Dr. Rahul, and it's over to you now for an interesting dialogue, interaction, recapping your initial conversation you had at IIIT and later on how things went. Over to you.
Thank you, Arun. Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Rahul. Nice to see you again. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the invitation.
Yes. So we have been kind of interacting on and off, at least because Rahul keeps visiting Hyderabad. And so
I also want to say my hi to Rahul. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he has been not just in academics, but also I think off the lab, kind of well known among many students and others in the institute, including a couple of faculty, right? So we'll come to that a little later. So I think let's start off in the interest of time on very specific stuff. So one of the things that I think which is kind of dwindling now in terms of numbers and stuff in the institute is the 4-year program students, the 4-year BTech students not converting largely to a dual degree or a research oriented program, even though they do get a flavor of it in honors, right? So Rahul, you were one of those 4 years who had some tough time converting also because of some of the other personal issues, right? So maybe it might be good to share that and say how you started off or kickstarted your journey into research, essentially. Yeah.
Yes. So how did it all start? So I think, to summarize it, the first 2 years I was not very keen on research or even computer science itself. I mean, I used to, I enjoy the subjects, but I was not really very passionate about it. But I think things started flipping when I did a project with Professor Prosenjit Gupta. I just went up to him to do a semester project. He just gave me a problem out of his notebook. And then the whole semester, I think this was right after my second year. The whole semester, all I was doing was just scribbling something, right, on pen and paper on my notebook. And it was just like puzzle solving. So as a kid, I was always, now if I look back at it, it all connects well. That I always used to enjoy math and puzzle solving. And that's all I was doing in that semester. Just trying to come up with some algorithms, some different techniques. And the previous techniques don't work, so you have to come up with something new. And then later I was told that one can make an entire career in computer science just doing puzzle solving. Right? Essentially that's how I looked at it when I really started. Right? So I made up my mind that, okay, I really like this and I just want to do this now. It was very...
Yeah, so you also converted your BTP, right, at that time?
Yes. So
you started off with a BTP, converted it, and then moved on to make that a full-scale thesis problem.
Yes. I think I initially started off with Jitu on rubber sheeting with you. And
yes.
But I think he took over that project. And then, yes, so how did that happen, right? So that was also interesting. So, so I had two advisors at that time, Professor Rajan and Professor Prosenjit Gupta. So my initial, all my training was in algorithms and computational geometry. And along with Professor Rajan, now we could come up with problems at the intersection of, not at the intersection of, but basically spatial database problems, which have a large algorithmic component and geometric component in it. So, but I think in the end, I really liked this idea of converting to dual degree, because I think that really gave me but I think basically I look at it, masters as you have nothing to lose in the sense, right? I mean, I was all done with all my courses in undergrad, right? So courses were done, right? And that whole, I mean, if you are in PhD, right, all the work that you do will have a consequence, right, when you're applying for further jobs. But masters is a wonderful place where you have maximum freedom, right? You can just fully enjoy your research and give your entire into it, and if it works out, great, right?
Yeah, so I think it might be good to point out here how the ecosystem at IIT played a role, or how was your interactions both in the lab and outside, especially talking to various other students and peer groups and stuff like that, right? And I think in the lab, you're also, when you initially told that you'll come back and do research post your masters, right? So you had some interesting reactions from fellow students. Maybe it might be good to recount that.
No, when was it? After masters or after undergraduate?
After master, after you quit your job.
Quit my job. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll come to that later. So I think I was in my third year. I think when you moved to IIIT, right? Professor Prosenjit was there. I think it was around my third year when you had moved in, and I have very fond memories of interacting with you. I think I think the LSI lab played a very huge role in my growth as a researcher. Now, if I think about it, right? For example, a lot of the problems I solved in my PhD they fall under computational geometry and theoretical computer science, but the motivation for those problems comes from spatial databases and all the interaction I had with you during my master's time. For example, I can give examples of very specific examples. So there's this problem called rectangle stabbing or point enclosure, where your input is a huge collection of rectangles, right? So that basically comes from satellite images, where you have a huge collection of satellite images which has been taken, and that usually captures some portion of the land, which are rectangles. And now, given a query point, which could mean some city like Hyderabad or Bangalore, you want to know all the rectangles which contain. So that's one problem. Or let's say you have the restaurant data around the world with their ratings, right? And you're in Hyderabad and you want to know the top 5 restaurants around you. So problems like this is what I read. So we had a paper on this during our masters, but I had a lot of follow-up work where I could really pick up these problems I had in my masters, and I went really deep into them. Right? So their interactions with you were very helpful. So we had many other themes that we tried, but not all of them you could publish on. I mean, I remember days when I would play my football and come back at 7 for a lab meeting with you. And the meeting would just go on and on. It will cross 9:30 and my mess closes at 9:30. So and I had to tell you, sir, no, I have to really leave now. No? So that's how huge our interactions used to be. So I think in that sense, LSI really helped. And the good thing about LSI was the diversity that we had there on the range of problems people are working on. Here I was on the other extreme, really working on algorithms. And then they were really building some GIS softwares, right? Somebody doing some work on spatial database, very applied work. And here I was doing very algorithmic work. So I really enjoyed that ecosystem and if I go into the LSI lab, look at the posters, I just know people are working on very diverse things. So that really helped, I would say. That was a very rich experience for me. I can add more. Like, for example,
okay. But I think let's move on a bit. So how does, post that, as you mentioned, you carried some of this over to your PhD and maybe some of that into your postdoc and now as a faculty, right? So some of them still are things that need to be addressed and stuff. So as from research to moving towards a faculty career, research and faculty as a career, right? what is your feeling and what possibly you would like to share the younger batch students and stuff like that? In comparison to, you also had a small stint in a corporate world. So that I think can give the comparison between why you chose this and what motivated you to kind of become a full-scale researcher, essentially,
Yes.
in the long term.
I think I should mention that incident. Right?
Yes.
So I think I was done with my thesis work, master's thesis work, and in my head I was sure I was doing a PhD. It was very clear to me. But then I had this itch of just trying out an industry work, because everyone around me wants to go to industry. Right? Everyone around is giving interviews, they're joining. That's the whole talk about. And I had
the
some
peer
time.
group effect, right? Yeah.
The peer group effect. But I had a one year gap. And before I could go to a PhD. So I thought, okay, let's just give it a shot. I went to Amazon and I realized the work culture there is very different. In the sense, the mindset is very different. There they would say, okay, you're given 1 week, show this output. Or you're given 2 weeks, get this done. Right? It was a very different mindset. Whereas I wanted or at least what my strengths or what suited me more was, you could go slow, but you have to go deep. So doing something very deep and doing something very novel, right? Like you're taking your field and you're pushing it forward, right? So I think that kind of kick, that is what I really was looking for. And you could set your own pace, right? It's not like you work less, but it's just that you get to set your own pace and work on deep problems. So I think I really wanted that kind of an experience. And during my PhD, postdoc, and now as faculty, I really get to do that. And the independence to set your own problems and really go deep into them. I think that really
freedom to choose what you would like to do, right? Yeah. That's good. So let's kind of revisit a little bit of your life off the lab, right? Which especially the hostel life and stuff. And as you already mentioned, you were being called the football Rahul by a couple of faculty, also being called right NBH mess Rahul, because spending a couple of hours in the mess, not just getting off with your plate of food and stuff like that, right? So maybe it's good to share those interesting memories also with students. So it's not all work sometimes. So it's good to share the non-work side of it.
I mean, I always tell everyone that I'm the one who has extracted the maximum fun or juice out of IIIT Hyderabad. Like in every sense, like sports, it could be with friends, it could be research, music, everything, or just the social life. I can say many things, but maybe two very memorable events for me would be, say, in sports. There was this, there is this university called Mufukamja, and they would annually organize a football tournament, and they were a very strong team. I mean, they would have players from Saudi Arabia, Africa, and we were a good, solid team in IIIT Hyderabad as well. We used to train every day under our PD sir, Kamlakar sir, and we were a good team, but they were a really tough team to beat. And that year when they organized, the finals was, it happened in their university, and we actually won that match. And the high that we got out of that, right? I mean, we still recollect that moment, because it was a very extremely hard match, and all of us just gave our best. And the thrill that we got out of that, I think even after more than a decade, we remember. And the other one would be the 1500 meter race, the athletics meet. Those 2 days I would spend completely on the ground, not going anywhere else. And I think in my second year, along with my friend Avinesh and Chinni Krishna, we spent 1 month every day religiously practicing for it, running all the way till HCU. I don't know if it's still possible with the current traffic, but at that time it was very easy. So we did that, and I won a bronze medal in 1500 meters, which is very memorable for me. Yeah. I had many more.
This brings to possibly a last question that I might possibly ask you is, given that you are also, as you mentioned, right, extracting the best out of IIIT in almost all spheres, right? So what is your, for example, the sharing of thoughts or ideas that you would like to communicate to the younger generation or the students currently of how they should go about not just their academic work, but also choose research as a career, or at least give it a shot, right? So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I think research comes in many flavors, right? So so I think because of that, I think it's an option that everyone should definitely get a taste of. I feel it's totally worth it because research, again, as you can, if you just go through all the profiles of the professors at IIIT, right? Everyone does very different stuff. Somebody wants to do algorithms, somebody wants to build something for the society. Let's say at LIS, you want to do all this spatial databases stuff. So research comes in very, very different flavors, and you will always find some lab that you will resonate to. It cannot happen that you cannot resonate to any of the labs, right? At least to one of the philosophy of some lab you will resonate to. And it's a very worthwhile experience, because the skills that you can gain, right, by doing a research project, right, is something which you might not get, right, if you go to an industry, because there things work very differently for some valid reasons. But the experience that you get out of doing research, right, it's unique. All the education system that we have, right, till say college, right, it's tuned in a certain way, and research is something which will put you in a very uncomfortable zone, but a very worthwhile zone.
Open mind for thinking what you would like to try, right?
Yes. I mean, the problems are not set. It's not like somebody has given an exam problem. You have to come up with problems in collaboration with the collaborators, and it's fuzzy all the time. Nobody knows the solutions. You have to come up with the solutions, and then you have to convince your audience that this actually is worthwhile. Right? It's a very new experience, almost like a startup, right? I think it's a good, especially for people who want to be in startup, this is a brilliant practice for them. Like, all the skills show up here as well.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else that you would like to add, Rahul, before we pass it on?
Oh, anything else? And yeah, I mean, I hope everyone makes full use of Triple IT like I did, right? Like I just play all the sports possible, participate in all cultural activities like music. I mean, that's what I used to do. And I made very good use of Yuktahar mess. Even now, I fondly remember it. I always make sure I have a meal there every time I visit. So please make good use of Triple IT Hyderabad, right? I mean, it has, and in terms of the general well-being, right? Beyond just even that is there's an ecosystem for that as well. So please make good use of it. Yeah. That will be my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Rahul. So I think I will see you more often at Triple IT now, visiting Hyderabad also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So let's keep up the discussion, and I think we'll move over to Avinash. I think we have.
Thanks, Professor Rajan, and thanks, Rahul. It's a very interesting conversation and motivating for the younger generations who are, still have a choice to make to move towards research, and very interesting conversation. And do come here. Today, by the way, is Felicity, and then yes, over time also you're invited to be here. So our next pair is what I would like to call upon. So our next interaction will be between Professor Madhav Krishna and our alumnus, Professor Arun Kumar Singh. So Professor Krishna is a professor at Triple IT Hyderabad who heads the Robotics Research Center and also is the head of the Kohli Center for Intelligent Research. His research interest includes mobile robotics, robotic vision, outdoor robotics, in autonomous driving and all, multi-robotic system, mechanism design. And he completed his PhD in a fast-track mode from IIT Kanpur long back, of course, but impressively in 2 years and 11 months. And he has also have 2 postdoctoral fellowship at this belt before he emerged as one of the key robotics researcher in the, I should say, South Asian or in fact Asian region. So yeah, and very hardworking, of course. Professor Arun Kumar Singh was a student here as a PhD student. He is currently an associate professor at Institute of Technology, University of Tartu. Earlier, he has been a postdoc at Ben Gurion University, Israel, and NTU in Singapore, and Tampere University of Technology, Finland. He obtained his PhD in EC from IIITH, if I'm correct, around 2014. And his research interest lies in algorithmic foundation of robotics in the context of motion planning and control and machine learning. The current research threads include optimization for robotics and learning, multi-agent navigation, autonomous driving, shared control, motion planning under uncertainty. So thank you, Professor Madhav and Arun, for agreeing to join the session. And now it's over to you. I request you to start the conversation.
Thanks, Avinash, and thanks, Arun, for participating. I mean, any credits to me, I would say 70% goes to Arun himself directly, because a lot of work we continue to do together. It is primarily led by Arun, and Arun was not a PhD student whom you had to advise. So he was a PhD student who could advise his professor. So anyway, I have been sending some questions to him. I hope, I don't know whether he saw that or not. So the first question is, what prompted you to join IIITH for your PhD, given your mechanical, you came from undergrad in mechanical engineering and things like that, and why did you choose IIIT, or what was the reason or something? You could shed some.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for this invitation. My PhD journey was a little strange because I was like a mechanical engineer in NIT Durgapur. But I guess I was very bad at my mechanical engineering. That was one of the reasons. So in my second year, I came for an internship in Madhav Sir's lab when I was in like second year of my mechanical engineering BTech. At that time, I worked on some like small research problems, or I was assisting. There used to be a PhD student. I was assisting him to conduct simulations and in coding and those sort of things. And that's how I got interested in robotics. And I realized that most of it is driven by like the software or the algorithmic part of it. That's where the most very challenging problems were there. And also, I'm a pretty lazy person. So if I have to build something and go to hardware, I would not do it. But then I realized that if you can just do math and code and you can still do like a lot of cool applications, and you can get very cool results in robotics just doing that, and it kind of resonated with me. And I was
Hello, Arun. I think we have lost connection.
Yes. Maybe we can wait a couple of minutes. Or maybe you can give your side of view of how things were, and then hopefully he'll join. He's
Arun,
there.
Yeah, Arun, we lost you. Maybe you can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, there was an internet.
Okay. Yeah. So I saw that during my internship that very good robotics was done here, and it's one of the few labs which was publishing in like top places in ICAIROS and those kind of competitive places. So I thought that maybe it's so I was sure that this, if I do PhD here, I would I would be among the best. So I thought that's where I decided that I will do it here. And also there were like some constraints on my personal side for which going abroad was not an option for me. So if I have to be in India and do my PhD, then the IIIT Hyderabad Robotics Lab would be the place, at least in the robotics, I'm pretty sure.
Sure, thanks. It was quite flattering. And how do you, did you see your PhD years go the way you wanted, or were there periods of time where you even thought, why am I doing it? Or how is that?
No, actually, you do have down times in PhD, but it was the thought of quitting never came because because there was I knew I had to do this, and there was nothing else that was in my mind that I could do well, because to me it seemed that this is a thing that I'm good at and I'm doing well, and it's also very interesting to me. So any other thing was not in my head. So there's not this thought of actually joining industry. Actually, I did go for the industry after BTech. So I lasted a whole of like full 3 months there. I got really bored, and then I thought that okay, so from that time onwards, I realized that at least like this core mechanical industries is not the place for me, or even like a regular industry place. But now, of course, the situations have changed. The industry environment is also very academic like. But during that time, I knew that okay, I had to do PhD because I want to do research or solve novel problems, which was not going to happen anywhere else. besides an academic environment.
Sure. So after your PhD, what was your, you've been postdoc at quite a few places. So what did you learn? What was your central learning there? Academically, technically, culturally also, the way people work there versus here and things like that.
Culturally, the working style is is very different. I would say, because somehow I feel that it's a little tough when you're doing a postdoc so the expectations are very different. So so for example, in IIIT or when I was in lab, so we could immediately, we were all the master students or the PhD students like Harit and all were very close. We should discuss research problems all the time, and in at least in the places that I was postdoc, that openness is not there. So people are a little defensive about talking about their research or maybe they think that, okay, so until that it's clear to them that it's worthwhile or it's important for them to do it. So they may not do an impromptu start discussing research ideas. So maybe you have to say, okay, and fix up a time and then go and discuss. So those kind of things were there. It's also from the point of view, but I learned a lot in the sense that what kind of problems to choose. So when I was in IIIT, to me, it seemed that problems was like anything which was tough and which could do, and that's the problem you should solve, because people are finding it difficult to solve. But during my postdoc, I realized that that's at least in academics, most of the time that's not the key factor. You have to the problems decide. You have to choose problems which can create. They use the term impact, but the definition is not clear. So, what will create more impact? It may not be an even difficult problem. For example, I remember that when I was doing postdocs, there was huge talks about actually just writing libraries. So, for example, you write a library like an optimal control library, which makes development so easy, and then it integrates this. So this was supposed to be this is considered a very big research abroad, even with my collaborators. So this is considered to be a very good research problem. But in India, you usually, when a student comes, you will not give this as a research problem. So this way of thinking is very different. So here, if somebody wants to develop for example, even in you start to auto ML or ML libraries or automatically tuning ML libraries and on business creations and those sort of things is very big. They even have ERC level grant on this. So the problems that you choose to do research and the motivation or the intuition of what is good and what is bad certainly changed a lot. So now I'm a little better, I would say, at least choosing research problems and not go purely from an abstract or theoretical point. That's the key difference, I would say.
Right. Yeah, sure. I think I do agree to that at a broad level for sure. So, and as a faculty in an European setting now, what do you think you are the next best problems you are planning to solve? And
So in Europe, there is a little bit of a problem in the sense of so Europe is very competitive in the sense that the most of the grants they don't come for fundamental reasons or theoretical reasons. It's very difficult to crack those kind of things. So there is something called European Research Council grants, ERC grants, which is given to the topmost researchers. For example, David Scaramuza has this, so those people. So there's very few selective people who can get this ERC grants, and where you have freedom to do anything. So you can define a problem. For example, a ERC research problem is why are leaves green? That's it. So that's the problem, and they will give you €5 million to do that. But apart from that, the most of the European grants are very industry specific. So you cannot, so everything you do has to be tied to how it improves society, economy, and everything. So there is no, for the mere mortals, we have to our fine-tune our research to that point. So if you say that the theoretical research is very difficult to find. So you have to make that align to say solve something very which is directly applicable to industry, like society, something like that. So here, so in that respect, it's grant writing is very challenging. So you have to, because as I said, I came from a slightly different perspective of research. So here I'm adapting to that. But luckily I've been successful a little bit. So that's the key challenge you have to find, and networking is a very big key here in Europe. So I mean, you just can't survive on your own. So you have to go make sure that you visit 10 labs in a year, or 5 or 6 labs, and make friends. Because grants are given to consortiums, and consortiums is then becomes like a club where people you have to find your own club and then try to make your own group. So unless your networking is not there, it becomes difficult. And unfortunately, since I joined as a faculty, few months after the pandemic started, so the networking has completely stopped. But that is very crucial. So you have to go out and give talks, or sometimes even, people say that you have to proactively self-invite shamelessly. So you say, okay. So you go to big labs and say, okay, I'm interested in this research. Can I come and give a talk? Or so that's how you break into
the
big leagues. Otherwise, because here there's a common saying that you will not get the next position or promotion or a good faculty position by 3 SOTA beating papers. That's not how you get it. You get it by conducting 5 workshops in a top conference. So they have a saying like that. So that's what I've been trying to do. Unfortunately, I'm not being able to find time to do that. But that's is very something that is very different in the European context. So you have to
possibly it's catching up here also. We are short of time. Maybe one last question. Any message for those who would like to take up PhD or and robotics PhD as well? What would you say? PhD in general?
PhD in general, I will not be able to comment, but at least in PhD in robotics and AI, I believe that this is worth spending 4 years on this, because you don't even have to stick in academics. So now, as I said, so the industrial environment in at least robotics and AI is becoming very academic-like. So you have companies who are pushing their employees to publish, and there are labs opening. Even in Europe, there are many companies where they're hiring people who can publish in NeurIPS, ICML, iCLIRE. So that environment is changing. For example, there's never labs in Europe. So even if you don't want to stay in academics, at least for robotics and AI, PhD is kind of a way to acquire skill. So you can get the next level skill. And even if you want to go to industry, because the problems that is being solved requires skills at that level. You need not even want to do research, be in academics, but that's not but that is irrelevant. So the kind of skills they want, they know that, okay, even you're doing a PhD and you're solving a problem on your own, you will get those kind of skills. And they actively look people for that. So it's worth spending. And even if you do it anywhere in the world, any decent university, you get solve good problems, publish well, you will get either industry or academics, wherever you want to go. Doors are open. So that restriction that you do postdoc and then you're restricted to academics, or you do PhD and restricted to academics, at least in AI and CS and robotics, that perception is disappearing. So you don't even have to be in academics. At least even from we know people from our friend group who did PhD, then postdoc, but now are senior scientists in companies.
Sure.
So that perception is changing for good, which opens up more avenues, because even though the academics has flexibility, but it also has more demands. So at least if you have an option now, here it's very common to people to take positions, like 50% position in industry.
Okay. Sure. Arun, sorry, I maybe because there are two more candidates.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming. Participating, agreeing to be part of this. I'm sure we learned a lot from this interaction. Maybe we can move to the next pair, Dr. Arun. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Madhav, and thanks, Dr. Arun, for an interesting and enlightening session. Right, of course, a bit brief. Many things could have been said. So now I would like to move on to the next pair. So I would like to welcome Professor Ponurangam Kumar Guru, also popularly known as PK, which I'm used to, and also our alumnus, Mr. Anshul Sadaria, who they share their thoughts. So Professor PK is currently affiliated to the LTRC Research Center, and his PhD work on anti-phishing research at CMU contributed in creating an award-winning startup, Wombat Security Technologies. He's also listed in the top 2% of world scientists that was released recently by Stanford. And he started and successfully manages Precog research group at IIIT Delhi, from where he moved recently to IIIT Hyderabad. There are many things to say about his contribution to ACM and other organizations, but I would, in the interest of time, stop short of that. So Anshul is recently graduated with his BTech in Computer Science at IIIT Hyderabad in 2020. He bagged a gold medal of institute in the convocation because of his performance. Currently, he's in software engineer at Google, working to provide search solutions to enterprise customer. And during his college time, he was primarily interested and enthusiastic about data science and ML plus deep learning solutions, and worked in the field of social media and elections in 2019 with PK. And there are other projects on traffic, e-challan kind of things that he has worked and got a lot of newspaper coverage. As an intern, he worked at Adobe, and he managed to have a patent there on computer vision problem. But more importantly, apart from his research work, he has given 50 plus speeches, mentored 100 plus students in 2021, and was invited as a judge, speaker, and mentor at various events. So a very unique, I should say, qualities here. And for young students especially, I would like to call upon both of them and just take over from here.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to get a sense of who all are on the call, except for the faculty, if you're a student, can you do a +1? Student, alumni, anybody other than faculty? I see some faculty.
So I think this is also being streamed live on YouTube. So there will be many people joining there also.
Yeah. Okay. Srikanth, were you able to do the slides, Srikanth?
Yes, sir, I'll do it. I think you need it in the Q&A, right?
Yeah, Q&A will start it, no? So we can do. Okay. So yeah, thanks, Avinash, for that introduction. I think it's super exciting to speak to Anshul. At any given point in time, super exciting to speak to alumni always. But Anshul is slightly special for me because I think I started talking to him when I was here as a sabbatical, and then interesting things happened after that. So Anshul, I think the first question that I have for you is that it's so amazing to see you have like 41,000 followers on LinkedIn. For people listening, just to keep it in context, he finished his BTech like 2 years before. He has 41,000 followers. I finished BTech like 23 years before or something like that, and my number of followers are only 7,000 right now. Right, just to give you the context of the numbers. I mean, I'm sure you can infer many things from this. So yeah, Anshul, what's going on? Who are these people, and why are they following you? Anshul, we can't hear you, Anshul.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, thanks a lot, PK, for inviting me to this. And you're asking about why are they following me. So honestly, I don't have an idea why are they following me, but I can give you a snapshot of who are these people. So most of them are like college students who are just joining into college or like were not able to have the college experience due to COVID. So, and to give more context, these are the students who are not in a privileged position. Like I was at IIIT Hyderabad. These are not students from IITs. These are not students from NITs or IIITs. These are usually what we can say non-tier 1 students who usually don't have a lot of guidance because the alumni over there is like unfortunately like there's not a lot of alumni who can guide them in the correct direction. So these are the people who follow me. So an interesting story, like I never joined LinkedIn during my course of BTech at IIIT. I joined it after I was graduated, just before I joined Google. So I started sharing the content about how I was able to, like my experiences, like in the interviews at Google, my college experiences, what all different kinds of research work I did. And if you remember, like that was the duration when our traffic violations project was getting a lot of media coverage and all of that. So I was talking about that, like how the idea got started, how we collected the data and thought of some problem statements to work upon. And surprisingly, I mean, I never expected all of this. And surprisingly, I got a lot of messages from people like, how did you do this? Like, what can I do? Like, what can they do to be at the same place that I am or able to clear Google and all of those things? So that is how the journey got started. And like, I want to say that I was always in the comfortable bubble of IIIT, but we never realized that the world outside IIIT or all this like creamy institutes, if you call them, the world is not the same. There is a lot of knowledge gap. And the purpose why I continue doing this content creation or the influencer journey, as you call, is to try and reduce this knowledge gap as much as possible. So, yeah.
Fantastic, yeah, fantastic. So for people looking at the images, what is there? We just put together some images, Anshul, to show what all he did, some variety of things, some pictures where Anshul is at least, will refer to some of the discussions that are going on right now. He mentioned about traffic, one of the pictures you will see. So this is a picture, the current one is a picture in the elections. We're all showing two because I think it was the phase 2 elections. So every phase we took these pictures of showing 1 till 7. So this is a first phase. Devansh is taking a picture, but Anshul is at the back. So Anshul, I think that this is extremely interesting, right? You've identified a great space, which is this knowledge gap between doing something. Knowledge gap could be at a technical level. Knowledge gap could be at the level of, look, I don't even know how to put my CV together. I don't even know how to sit in an interview, technical interview. How do I manage all this? So let's get to that part, right? I see you talking or posting about many of these CV feedback sessions or mock-up interviews sessions that you are being doing. So tell us about it. Well, meaning your take on, let's say, number of people who come to these sessions. What level of feedback are you giving? How much are you getting involved? Yeah.
So the kick in this thing is very simple, PK. I mean, the numbers can only satisfy you up to certain moment, be it followers, money, or like even if it's grades or publications. So ultimately, it all boils down to what is the impact that you're creating. That is the most important thing, right? So it's really heartwarming when I receive messages like, okay, Anshul Bhaiya, because of you, I'm able to fulfill my parents' dream. Because of you, I'm able to like get an opportunity to get interviewed in some company or get a job offer somewhere. So that is the real kick for me, that people are able to fulfill their dreams or even go a little closer to their dreams with some effort that I put in. So when we talk about like what level of detailed feedback or like what's the strength of like resume reviews and all of that stuff that I do. So in 2021, I think I did almost 200 plus resume reviews for the students, and that includes some like LORs and SOPs for the research work as well. And out of them, quite a lot of them got opportunity to interview at big companies. I have started doing their MS at some Ivy League colleges in US as well. So that's the real kick in for me. And I also interview at Google. So I mean, if to put in words, the kick for me is to be as much close to the college experience as I can, because it really hurts me that I missed those last 2 months of my college experience due to COVID. And I want to be close to college students as much as possible. So, like in Google, I had the record of conducting 7 straight interviews during the on-campus drives. So yeah, I mean that's the dedication, that's the passion behind like seeing the college students succeed. That's what really kicks me.
Super, very nice. So let's come to Triple IT's life, right? So first, let's look at some of your fond memories of Triple IT Hyderabad, and then talk about. I mean, where do you think Triple IT played a role in currently, if we were to call you as an influencer, right? I'm guessing that in the pace that you're going, you will very soon have the. I don't know if you already have, but the influencer tag in all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, and all of that. So yeah, where do you think Triple IT played a role for that?
Okay. So to be honest, like if all the professors were here, I don't know how much of you remember me, because I was not a very extrovert person when I was in college. I mean, yes, I did interact a lot with PK due to the personal bond that we shared during the research that started since the research. But apart from that, like professors would remember me only for the grades, perhaps, like CGP and all those things, perhaps, and not a lot more. So that means I didn't participate a lot in sports activities or cultural activities, and I was not an influential image over there at Triple IT. And the reason behind that is very simple. Like I always got so overwhelmed seeing the quality of students there and seeing the amazing work that each one of them was putting in, that instead of expressing myself, I used all the 4 years of my bachelor's to try and learn something from each one of them. And I think that's where Triple IT comes in, that the learning aptitude that I have now is all because of Triple IT and the quality of Triple IT, like the students, the professors, and the opportunities that I got to work with you. And like, oh, see, this is the poster presentation that I was doing. So these are all the opportunities that I'm talking about. And that's where Triple IT comes in, like the confidence with which I can speak to 500 people at a time on a podium. That's where Triple IT makes a difference now. And I mean, I'm still learning every single day at Google as well. So yeah, I mean, all I can say is that the experiences that I gained in Triple IT is what, like, it has been pushing me forward in this influencer journey, if you say.
Yeah. I think for faculty and students on the other side, right? So Anshul, when he was on campus, I think the CGPA was a big topic for discussion, right?
I fondly remember we fought once for one of the courses as well.
Yeah, right. So I sent out some emails about the grades that students had at something, and then Anshul had this very strong view on how to manage and stuff like that. So I think very good, Anshul. Thanks for mentioning some of this. Let's go to the next question. So when Avinash actually read your bio, I think there was this mention about patent, some research work, publications, and now, of course, at Google, I'm sure you're influencing a lot of product decisions and making choices that wherever appropriate, right? How are you involved in some of these things now? I think the things that we discussed until now is more of the society gap, all that. Tell us something about your engineering, research, all that's going on in your life.
Right. So, I mean, apart from the college, after I graduated from Triple IT, I didn't do core research work, if you can say. But I would like to take this opportunity and mention that research is not something that you choose to do or pursue. I mean, it's kind of way of thinking, like how you perceive others' thoughts, how you think a particular problem. And perhaps I would even like to go to the extent of saying that it's a way of living as well, with things as simple as booking flight tickets, So the research exposure at Triple IT helped me become a good engineer, definitely. But it has also helped me elevate the kind of human that I am. So how I think about the things rationally, work out my hypothesis at work. So it has changed the way I perceive things. And when I talk about the work that I do at Google, so Professor Avinash, he mentioned that I'm currently working to provide search solutions to the enterprise customers. So our main goal is to try and improve the experiences that all the enterprise customers have to help them increase their productivity. So we are involved in a lot of decisions like which data store to use, what are the pros and cons, how a particular infrastructure will patch with this particular piece of infrastructure, and a lot of other decisions related to latency, improving the search quality through experimentation and all of that. And that's where I guess perhaps you cannot say it core research, but I think the ideology of research does follow into that particular kind of work as well. And yeah, even if I'm not doing explicit research, there is some implicit research going on when I'm preparing the design docs, getting the opinions of other people, they review it, and then I try to revise those designs that I'm formulating to improve the search quality. So yes.
Great. So Avinash, how much more time do we have, Avinash? Accordingly, I'll pace.
I would love to wrap it up in a couple of minutes because...
Yeah, sure. So Avinash, Anshul. So now let's go back to 6 years before, right? Let's take that if you were UG1 student coming to Triple IT now, 2022 entry, first year, first semester. Hopefully this is going to be in person. So let's keep your own experience there. Let's remove the COVID part, right? So what would be your suggestion? I'm sure if not now, at some point in time, some UG1 student is going to listen to this video, or a 12th standard student is going to listen to this video. What would you tell them according to you? Let's take top 3 things that they should do and top 3 things that should not do, let's take.
Okay. I graduated in 2020 and there hasn't been a single day where I haven't reminded myself of my fond memories from Triple IT. And the one thing, you talked about 3 things, but let's start with one thing I would want to ask students strongly to do is try and explore, because Triple IT has a lot to offer. I get calls from 12th standard students asking for some college guidance. They are like that, Bhaiya, how is Triple IT? So I'm like, it's the place that has changed my life forever. And then they come with a singular doubt. They have only one doubt in their mind. They are like, we have heard that it's a little academically strong, or it's little difficult to perform academically well there. So I'm like, even if you go to IITs, even if you go to any college, academically it's going to be difficult because you are going to compete with students of your own quality, even above that. But apart from that, not a lot of students know that there are so many sports opportunities at Triple IT, so many sports being played, inter-batch, inter-house. There are so many cultural activities also there, which I was not able to participate in. So I would strongly like to ask them to make sure that you try and participate in at least one of the cultural activities, or participate in at least one of the sports activities that happens in Triple IT. If I remember, I participated only in the freshers, and that was also due to my seniors forcing me to do. Apart from that, I didn't participate anywhere. So I certainly would like to change that after thinking about it, after getting graduated.
Yeah.
So, and also explore the city, because Hyderabad is a wonderful city. If you're going to stuff yourself in college for 4 years, it's going to be exhausting. And that's where I think Triple IT Hyderabad had a charm over other options that I had at the time. That the city of Hyderabad is beautiful, the aura is amazing, the food is amazing. What else do you need, man? So yeah.
I like the word you said. Seniors forced me into it. So anyway, pretty good. So Srikanth Garu, can you stop the slideshow and spotlight Anshul and me? We can take some pictures and we can stop. Yeah. So any others, whoever wants to be on the video, please switch on your video. I'm going to take a picture. But means Avinash said we should stop. Thanks Anshul for again accepting this. Thanks a
lot, PK. Thanks a lot, Triple IT.
Continue influencing as many people as possible. Make yourself and make us proud as you do whatever you do in life, right? So on a count of 3, I'll take a picture. It looks like they're just spotlighting you and not me. I think you are okay. On a count of 3, 1, 2, once again, 3. Okay. Thanks, Avinash, for the opportunity.
Thank you, PK, and thank you, Anshul. So very interesting, lively conversation. And now I would like to move upon to the last pair of this session, which is Dr. Manish and Srivastav, and our alumni, Dr. Khyati Raghavi Chandu. So Manish is a faculty at LTRC at Triple IT Hyderabad, and his research interest includes natural language processing, machine translation, NLP for Indian languages, He completed his PhD in computer sciences at IIT Bombay and also briefly spent time at IIT Jabalpur before joining IIT Hyderabad, I think quite long back now. Dr. Khyati is recently, she graduated with BTech in computer science and MS by research in computational linguistics dual degree program at IIT Hyderabad in 2016. So 11 to 16 she was here, and recently she has completed her PhD in language technologies at institute at CMU, and she joined research as a research scientist at Meta AI. So of course working on a cutting edge research which is relevant to the virtual presence and future which is heading to Facebook. I don't know if they're still calling it Facebook or it's all Meta, but yeah. And her goal of her research is to enable seamless communication between human and machine. She has also done multiple research internships at Google, at Meta AI, at Apple, at UPenn as an academic internship also. She also organized YNLP, this widening NLP workshop for almost 2 years, and she was awarded with SN Bose Scholarship back in 2015. So I would like to welcome both of them, and now it's stage is yours. So interested to listen to conversation about IIIT and how it contributes. Over to you.
Yeah. Welcome, Khyati. Khyati, you're muted. So if you can, yeah. It's always amazing to talk to old students, especially when that student in question is the first student I had in this organization. Right. So I joined in 2014. Khyati joined. Khyati was already working with Dr. Kishore Prahlad and moved to work with me. And I think that was the roots of a very interesting and very fruitful collaboration. Life goes on and we grow, and I have seen your growth from a shy dual degree student to a confident researcher at Meta, and who is driving her own interest. But I think everything started here. Why don't you share with us your experiences? So I saw you in your fourth year first, right? You were in your fourth year at that time. So, and we worked together, but what was your experience as a dual degree student? I'm sure everybody would be interested in that.
Like you said, I used to just very proudly keep telling everybody that I'm your first student. I took pride that I was your first student. So I was a CLD student at IIT Hyderabad, which is an integrated program at the intersection of computer science and computational linguistics. The flexibility to work on research projects very early on as a part of the curriculum definitely streamlined my exploration in a healthy and very guided way. I worked with Dr. Deepthi Mishra ma'am on morphological analysis, Dr. Kishore Prahlad sir on text-to-speech synthesis, and then also got a chance to work with you and Dr. Manoj Chinnakotla on code switching and question answering. All of these were part of the exploration of different kinds of projects in a breadth. Alongside these, statistical methods in AI and graphics were among my favorite courses too, and they have sort of driven me in multimodal machine learning later on during my PhD, and also the current work that I am doing. They had a very great influence on me. But coming back to NLP, language, anyone at least, is such an accessible tool for everyone. And living in a metropolitan like Hyderabad with surrounded by a multilingual demographic, resonating with the challenges and improvements in language processing seemed very intuitive and only like a second nature for you. I loved how the problems the lab was working on at the time are like very deeply rooted in addressing just those very available and real challenges that we were surrounded by, like enabling illiterate farmers interact about their products by eliminating the need for middlemen, building parsers for low resource languages, code switching, just everyday language interactions. It was very exciting. While gaining a breadth on these topics, I worked under your guidance on code switching for question answering. It was unbelievably prevalent in my day-to-day speech, yet very little computational research was conducted at the time. So my work involved the full circle of defining the scope, collecting a new data set, modeling and analyzing the performance of the various machine learning models at the time for code switching. This environment sort of inculcated in me and many other students, of course, in introspecting on why we want to work on certain problems, the relevance to the society.
Right. In a way, a very practical, community-centric research spectrum, which is sort of focused on the needs of the Indian community. And you, and then following you, a lot of other researchers took inspiration and continued the work to date in code mixing, where two languages are mixed together in the same sentence, because that is the urban language. But in a way, I also saw very early on, right, 2015, when your research journey sort of took the next step with the SN Bose Scholarship, right? Which is a very, very prestigious scholarship for enabling young researchers to go to premier institutes in the US to expose themselves to higher order research. How did that come about? What was your experience there?
Yeah, so the learning curve in undergrad is really very steep, all happening adjunct to dabbling and finding my feet and understanding what excites me in a lot of paths. There were just too many things to try out, and Triple IT equipped me with these opportunities. I went on social internships to rural areas in Panchgani, where we were assisting kids and women to use computers and internet. I was working on some initial stages of one of my close friends' startup. Very similarly, I was also actively looking for opportunities to gain some research experience. I was mostly consuming a lot of Quora answers to learn about this at the time. I accidentally stumbled upon SN Bose Scholarship Program online, which is an opportunity provided to Indian students. It's fully funded to experience some world-class research firsthand at some leading US institutions. So I went ahead and applied. I was fortunate not only to be selected for the scholarship, but also to work with some able-minded people who were mentoring me throughout. I was working on biomedical NLP at the University of Pennsylvania, interacting with professors, PhD students, etc. All of this experience provided me a peephole into how research life looks like and what it entails exactly. Of course, I was not arrogant enough to think that I understand completely the work style of a PhD or research, but definitely was adamant enough to apply very carefully. The experience really won over my indecisive mind and consolidated my decision to pursue a PhD. So I'm very glad that I was able to do it during my undergrad.
I think one of the important points is, just being aware of such opportunities, and of course, the right kind of encouragement for young candidates to actually apply in such things. And you have been working on a lot of diversity and inclusion activities in the what we call STAR ACL, right? Association of Computational Linguistics, different top tier conferences, where you have been trying to steer the diversity and inclusion activities. So please share with us what is the thought behind it, and why is it necessary?
Yeah. So, like I was mentioning earlier, some of the most useful resources that were tailored for my interests are things that I stumbled upon. There is no like a regular path to take for each of those interests. And these resources were really obscure to me, despite being privileged enough to study in good schools and being a part of a healthy and encouraging environment, a very, very supportive family. Despite all of that, availability of the right resources, be it interacting with seniors, mentors who are sort of looking at the same things, getting feedback, and sometimes as simple as just knowing that a resource exists for an opportunity can be very critical and can work wonders. Unfortunately, most times these resources are behind these hidden walls, but fortunately, the walls are not intentional. So it's just a maze of practical constraints like information mostly is passed through word of mouth or one-hop contacts or practically just funding constraints, etc. So being explicitly cognizant about working towards equity of such resources is one of the things that I've grown very fond of, and I personally feel strongly about, and it's definitely the backbone for diversity and inclusion activities. So I was fortunate to study in good schools, a premier institution like in India, like IIIT Hyderabad, that helped me in making the most when I stumbled upon such opportunities like SNBOs, that eventually enabled me to do a PhD, land good internships, and work with some of the finest members in the community.
Also, what is widening NLP, and what say a young student, right? What is it that widening NLP or these diversity and inclusion efforts, what are they offering the younger students?
So widening NLP, so I work with the widening NLP or the WINLP community and co-organized workshops for 2 years alongside ACL 2020 and EMNLP 2021. Our main goal is to increase the awareness of the research conducted by underrepresented groups and support them in pursuing their work and provide a platform to build and foster research collaborations. It's very definitively a workshop that is organized alongside NLP conferences. But during COVID times, we also expanded it to conduct some satellite workshops where we were conducting panels about how COVID has impacted the work life of underrepresented communities. There are very real challenges that a lot of people faced that we were just unaware. And if a lot of us were aware of those challenges, people are very, very ready to help or support in any way they can. So just streamlining the resources is one of the goals that the workshop has.
Well, because IIIT also is trying to expand its student base using via multiple diversity and inclusion initiatives, like we have SPEC entrance, which is a special interest for rural and rural candidates and women candidates, which is for the exam is followed by interview process, then specialized mentorship programs, bridge programs to get them to the level where they can compete. And the amazing part is, like you said, it's just about giving the opportunity, providing the right information, giving the opportunity to the right candidates. We find that in the first batch we have the SPEC candidates are so 10 out of top 20 candidates are from SPEC, right? And it's just a matter of providing the right opportunity, and people shine, right? These are it's really gold out of dust. And this opportunity, then of course their fee is written off. So and with promise from them that they would later help the other batches of SPEC candidates. And similarly, there is a JEE-based, merit-based opportunity for women candidates who are who if they are in the top 1%, would be given an opportunity to pursue here with a discount on their fee. It's just a matter of opportunity where sometimes It's just a matter of, not being confident enough, or not having the right opportunity at the right time, or not having enough information at the right time. Just like you said, it serves as an invisible wall, which is not intentional, but it definitely exists. And bringing down that wall sort of helps these candidates grow. So once they are here, once they are in this, right, they have a lot of opportunities to grow. And in your case particularly, you were the best all-rounder in your batch, which is a term that internally we all know. Why don't you explain what best all-rounder meant?
So yeah. I was all-rounder, just like the word suggests. I'm into a lot of activities, and like I think the
Dean Merit list for all the years. Dean Merit list for all the years. Sports, awards. What else? There was a cultural activity as well.
Yeah.
Yes. In all aspects of social and academic life, you had excelled. So how does a student expand their college life experience like that? What do you have to, how do you grow into this well-rounded individual?
Acads and sports were more personal to me, I think. But I was just listening to Anshul's discussion, and I think all the credit towards cultural part or the dance part of cultural fests of my life is fully credited to my seniors. Was forced into
forcing you to dance.
But they were really enjoyable and memorable moments, and I remember them very fondly now. Triple IT really provided an ample ecosystem for me to grow as a human. Starting from taking a variety of electives in humanities, I also participated in cultural and technical fests, volunteered as a teaching member in Asha Kiran, which is a non-profit organization in Triple IT. Like several other students, I was passionate and energetic to be a part of all these activities, but I had to explicitly work hard on developing my soft skills. I had a rather meek and quiet personality. I mean, you know that about me. All the faculty that I worked with knew that I was working on things, but not speaking up about them. So I really appreciate how accommodative all of you were and made space in meetings for me to voice my ideas as a part of the research projects that we were working on, the first paper that we wrote, and so on. All of this definitely helped me a lot in building my confidence, and that projects in various other places that I was, or various other fields that I was working on.
So I learned that. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm sure Avinash would interrupt. So now just one last question, right? This brings us to one very interesting question, and if you can, in one or two lines, for our students, tell them how to manage all of these things together, right? Otherwise, it sort of becomes too much pressure, too many things that you want to do of your interest, yes, but how do you prioritize? How do you live with that kind of pressure?
Yeah. Being the mortal selves that we are, time is never enough. But there are a lot of exciting things to do. So to be very brief and concise about it, like for instance, I am in the research side of things, and there is a constant, never-ending barrage of papers that just floods my to-do list every single day. But these are some simple practices that help me cope with some time management, very simple things. The first is I try to estimate and have a dialogue about explicit time commitments in each of the projects that I'm involved in, so that you have an idea of how everything fits in your calendar, because most of the time it's very easy to overcome it. So second is do not overcome it. I'm still learning to get a handle on this. As researchers, you'd be interested in a large number of projects, research services, and a lot of other activities. And this is aside from all the other interests or food for soul activities that you have, like sports or other things. So curb that temptation I always keep telling myself that doing a great job in the works that you are involved in is very important than just simply existing in several meetings and just being present and not doing things for that particular work. And the third one, which practically helps me, is I try to set pre-deadlines before the actual deadlines in small quantities. By this, I mean divide your work and set deadlines for each part of the work. It helps take a lot of pressure off right before the deadlines or conferences and helps me, or at least I want to believe that it helps me that I'm having proper sleep before conference. I'm still trying to get good at it.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for those insights. I'm sure any researcher would agree with, any professional would agree with all of these observations. And thank you for leading all of these activities in inclusion. I'm sure we will see the impact in the NLP community as well.
I'm super glad when I learned about the diversity initiative activities at IIIT, the SPEC and the diversity JE channel. I would love to know more about those activities.
And more actively help the students to know about them. We would definitely rope you in that activity. It was amazing having you here, Kathy. Over to Avinash. I think that should wrap up the session, I think.
Yes, thanks a lot, Manish, and more importantly, Kathy, for staying awake so late. I think it's almost early morning for you. Thanks a lot, and really appreciate your presence here. So I would like to thank all the faculty advisors and alumni for their participation today and for sharing with us how they, in keeping the spirit of the KCIS and IIIT alive within them and across the world. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful to have all of you here. And I would like to make a special thanks to our technical team and also to the alumni cell coordinator who are namely Meenakshi and Manira, who are helping in supporting this session.